In the final, waning hours of the life of the Horus heresy, no legion escaped unscathed. All 18 of the surviving 20 legions had either gone over to chaos or broken, save the Ultramarines. By the time of the 13th Black Crusade, none of the loyal Primarchs remained unscathed. 3 were dead, in fact: Dawn, Sanguinius, and Manus. The others vanished or fell in battle after the fact. Gilman, his throat cut. Korax, Vulcan, and Russ entered the Eye, and Jagatai and the Lion simply disappeared. Disappeared, however, does not mean died. In the tumbling rocks of Caliban, overseen by the Watchers in the Dark, lay Lionel Johnson, still comatose, but fully healed after his climactic battle with Luther. Only Luther himself and the Watchers knew of this secret, aside from the Emperor. The empty caverns below the citadel of the Dark Angels bent, folded, and popped as the massive Emperor stepped forth. The purple flash illuminated dark corners of the chamber that had probably not seen daylight since the planet was sundered thousands of years ago. The Emperor looked around and sighed.
Looks like I have some work to do.
Above, in the fortress monastery, the angels were thrown into a panic.
What do you mean? There's a Psycha signal from the rock.
Samael roared at the hapless librarian.
I mean what I said, brother. There is something down there. Something with a psychic power that is horrifyingly vast.
The librarian answered contritely. Azrael, master of the secrets, leader of the Dark Angels, strode into the room in fury.
What in the name of the Golden Throne,
he began without a trace of irony,
is going on in my monastery?
Samael spun to face him.
Brother, there's a psychic signal emanating from the places where the Watchers in the Dark go to die. Something is down there.
Azrael buried his face in his hands.
I gathered that. I have ordered what few elements of the Deathwing remain here to gather and prepare for an excursion into the rock. Let me save you the trouble,
a rasping voice said. Azrael and the other 2 men in the room spun about, a sight to see in power armor, to face a ragged old man leaning on the wall, nursing his head. He was surrounded by a rapidly dispersing purple mist, and his free hand was blocking out the light in the room. Azrael gaped.
Master Johnson?
The old man nodded slowly, then winced at the evident pain that caused him.
Yes, brother Azrael, it is I. I confess I have been away for a time. I recall this world having trees when last I was here.
The librarian sank to his knees, overcome with emotion. Samael slowly raised his gauntleted hands to cover his gaping mouth. Azrael, however, recovered his composure, looking grim.
Ah, Master Johnson, the vault. It is not refilled.
The lion sighed and gingerly stood upright once more.
I cannot tell you how much of a fuck I do not give, brother.
Azrael gasped aloud.
But, Master, it was ever the duty of the Keeper of the Truth to fill the vault.
In the event that I did not return, brother, L. Johnson said, keeping his voice level and free of censorship with a grand effort. I quite clearly have. He grinned faintly. Don't look so disappointed. Samael slowly turned to face his chapter master. Azrael looked utterly crushed. Certainly not how he should have looked upon finding out that his master had returned. L. Johnson must have grasped Samael's confusion, for he sank down the steel chair fitted to the wall behind him and stared at the floor below him, as if seeing where he had nearly had his head caved in by Luther 10,000 years prior. Before we could explain, however, a massive noise from beyond the chamber walls heralded the Deathwing. The first of the Terminator-clad giants entered the room in a rush, already speaking.
Lord Azrael, we have drawn together what lingers here of the first company. Who the hell is that guy?
Samael turned to the Terminators, suppressing a smirk.
Can you not see that he's Lionel Johnson himself, returned to us?
The Terminator captain glanced at the withered old man, the still prostrate librarian, Azrael, who looked to be on the verge of tears, and finally Samael, who had failed entirely to suppress the smirk.
You're shitting me, aren't you? You're so full of shit your eyes are brown.
As I was saying, L. Johnson said loudly, then immediately looked to regret it, placing a hand on his forehead.
Ah, blast! That stings like a mother's bitch.
Azrael, you have executed your task ably, but the time for further adherence to the truth is concluded. I have returned to complete the role I abandoned when I lost to Luther. Azrael, among the most feared space marines in all the galaxy, slowly slumped his shoulders and nodded. Okay. The lion shook his head again and managed to keep from wincing. The Emperor has already filled me in on what has transpired. Not all of your actions thus far have been meritorious, brother. Believe me though, I would rather return from the vast sleeping death of the rock to find you darkened than dead. He turned to Samael, who was looking rather startled at that pronouncement, hastened to explain. The truth, brother. The fact the position of Truth Keeper was created to protect was that I swore to the Emperor, as I lay dying in the rock, to fill the vault of the Watchers with the gene seed of the Fallen. And should I awake before the last of the Fallen are killed, then my oath has been broken. The Terminator captain visibly stiffened at those words, and Azrael shuddered. L. Johnson let the mood hang in the air for a few seconds before smiling. That said, I have been released from the oath by our new Emperor. Actually, he said offhandedly, ignoring the horrified gasps of the assembled Deathwing. I guess he's the same Emperor with a new body. Ah well, same thing really. The teeth will take some getting used to.